Now, Noble Knight's just got some really insane support out of Soul Fusion, and I'm sure they're going to get support from the next couple of sets. But for now, this is my deck profile of Noble Knights, incorporating some of that new support. So for starters, we run one Noble Knight Boars. Now, admittedly, you can run more than one, but he's kind of a day card in the hand. What you really want to do is be able to search him out with Madrow, or special summon him with Brothers, or get him out through Isolde, because he doesn't really extend your plays in and of himself. He needs that sort of kind of extra support to bring him out, bring him out from the deck. Then what you do is you equip a Noble Arms to him. That means he gains his effect, where he can basically reveal 3 Noble Arms cards in your deck. You point it randomly, adds 1 to your hand, and the rest goes to the graveyard. Now, obviously, this is mainly this is used with the sort of the Noble Arms spells, but you can also use it with the new trap until Noble Arms are needed once again, because it doesn't specify equip spells, it's just any Noble Arms card. And this is really good because while this card is in the graveyard, not on the turn it's sent there, but you can banish it, especially summon a Noble Knight from the deck with a different name than the ones on your field or graveyard. So what I tend to do with Boars is my first go, I go with my double until Noble Arms are needed again, or only one if I've drawn into one. And then my single Guinevere, because Guinevere can equip herself from the hand or graveyard to a Noble Knight for basically free, for free. So essentially, all the cards that you send to the graveyard ideally have like effects or uses within the graveyard. So it doesn't really matter which one that randomly gets added to your hand. You're able to use all of them to their sort of fullness. So we have 1 Boars, he's great. 3 Brothers. Now, Brothers is just an epic extender. When he's normal summoned, you get to special summon up to 2 Noble Knights from your hand. Usually, you'll probably only be summoning 1 from this. I mean, you could summon 2, but other ones have their own summoning conditions that kind of benefit them a little better. But he basically puts lots of bodies on board for your Link and Xyz plays, and then also has a sort of Pot of Avarice-like effect where you can shuffle back 3 Noble Knight and or Noble Arms cards in the graveyard, and then draw 1 card. Now, what's really interesting about this is that that's not a hard once per turn, so you can potentially normal summon Noble Knight Brothers, special summon another Noble Knight Brothers, because you can summon any Noble Knights from your hand with his effect, including himself, and then you can do double sort of shuffle back and double draw, which is really good. So Noble Knight Brothers is a really key component of the deck, and it's worthwhile at 3. Similarly, Custonin is an excellent card from Cybernetic Horizon. This guy, basically, if you control a Noble Arms equip spell, you get to just special summon him from your hand. You can only summon 1 of them per turn that way. And then when he's used as a material for your Noble Knight extra deck monsters, you can basically get yourself an extra normal summon for the turn. So you can kind of use Custonin and in tandem with like another Noble Knight, and then you can go into like a Brothers again, so you can maybe normal summon 2 Brothers one turn and just get crazy monster presence. I mean, you could probably put Custonin down to 2, but I like him at 3. You kind of always want him in your hand because he's so easy to special summon. So I think 3 is a good number. He's got, I mean, not that he's probably ever relevant, but he's got a decent defense as well. Double Gawain. Now, the thing with Gawain is he's one of those cards that doesn't do a whole lot. He's just sort of an extra monster on board. And he's slightly more situational than some of the other Noble Knights because you need to have the light normal monsters. So basically, Boars and Madrow, they both count as normal monsters before you equip them with equip spells. And like a really fun combo with Madrow is using Madrow, equip spell, use Madrow's effectors, get rid of the equip spell, bring out a Noble Knight from the deck, let's say Boars. Then you re-equip the equip spell back to Boars, and then you've technically still got the Madrow as a normal monster, and then you can just special summon Gawain from the hand. So you've got to do it that way because Madrow's effect can only work while you have no other monster in the field. But that's a really nice little combo that the deck has. But another thing that Gawain is really useful for is in the new card, Noble Knight Ivan. Basically, when Ivan is equipped with a Noble Arms spell, it special summons a light token. And since tokens are normal monsters, you can then just special summon Gawain on top of that. And Ivan in itself is just basically a one card is sold, and then with Gawain special something on top, you get more advantage. And 2 is a really good number for Gawain. I wouldn't suggest running any more than 2 or any less really. I think that's just kind of the perfect number. 3 Ivan, as I said, it's a one card is sold, and that's basically all you need to know. I mean, he's obviously with the new support and stuff, he's very easily to get out on the field, very easy to get that token. So you'd be going into sold. I mean, you can use him and the token, or you can use a token and like the Gawain, and then use him and something else and another noble knight that you can get fairly easy to go for one of your XCs onto it is old. Yeah, or use this always effect to send 4 noble arms. So essentially, really, really good and quick ways of extending your plays, and an excellent card. Madral we've touched on already, but he's been the mainstay of the deck for basically ever since it sort of first came into relevance. When you equip him with an equipped spell card, he can once per turn just special summon a noble knight from the deck in defense position, and then you destroy an equipped spell card. So as I said, you would destroy the noble arms that you've equipped to him, then you'd re-equip it to, let's say, the boars, because that's the one you're probably going to go into most, and then you can then go away and then from that and use boars effect to then search out or get 3 noble arms into the grave or hand. So really solid card. Like, admittedly, it can, if it gets Ash, that's kind of your play just dead. But I don't know. I think Madral might get power crept if we get some really good new noble knights from the next couple of sets, which is looking likely, as I said earlier. But at the moment, he's your kind of main combo enabler from the deck. Like, there's lots of combo enablers from the hand, but this guy allows you to really sort of use your deck to its fullest. Then we have 1 noble knight Pellinor, just a kind of tech choice. You don't really need him, but I like Pellinor. You can target a noble arms equipped to him, and 1 face-up monster the opponent controls, destroy them both, and then you get to draw. And I think this is really good because you can basically, it's nice spot removal, and then also you can then re-equip the noble arms equipped spell to someone else, and you also get that draw. And like, because it's a hard once per turn, I think you only really need 1, and it's not going to be useful in every single situation. But given the searchability of noble knights and how quickly they're able to kind of pop off on the field, it's quite useful to have 1 just in case there's that problem monster that you're like, well, I can't really run over it in battle, but if I get Pellinor out, I can just get rid of it and get that nice draw. So I think 1 is worthwhile. I mean, you could run Dristan in its place, because Dristan is very similar. When Dristan's equipped with a noble arms equipped spell, he then pops a monster or pops a monster on the field. Or I think it's any card actually, but I think Pellinor with the draw and the ability to then sort of move that noble arms card around is slightly better. Then I won 2 Merlin. Now, Merlin was usually a 3 of, because it's basically you contribute it, especially on a noble knight from the deck, and you don't need that noble arms card like you would with Medral to get rolling. But because it's not a noble arms or a noble knight card, it's kind of dropped off now. They've got that new searcher card, which we'll get to later. It's still really useful and it's a good starter play. Again, Ash can be a problem. Its quick effects from the graveyard aren't particularly useful. I mean, you can get to immediately use XE summon a monster, sorry, which I guess is fine, but like you can get a King Arthur on your opponent, Artorgus on your opponent's turn, which is okay, but it's not amazing. But I think 2 is a good fair number. Now, the hand trap I won 3 of. You could very easily 1, 2, 1, or probably even none if you don't think it's that consistent enough. But I usually find that in most games, you will have a Noble Knight monster and a Noble Arms on board at the same time. So you're going to be able to use Morgan. And I love Morgan, basically. Her artwork isn't sensational. I've got a cat called Avalon, so it's really nice that I've now actually got a playable card with Avalon in its name, because the trap is kind of terrible. And it's just a really fun hand trap, and kind of what I think hand traps should be. Archetype specific, that if your archetype is playing well, then you get access to these really powerful hand traps, which is great. And so it just stops anything. It doesn't destroy the cards, which is quite important. It just negates the activation. And you can only use one per turn, but you can use it in either player's turn. So I just think it's a really good blocking card, and really, really annoying for the opponent to have to run it up against. But I can understand why some would prefer it at 2. I just kind of want it always in my hand, at least. So I think 3 is the best number, given it's, again, not searchable like the Merlin card. Then I have 1 Guinevere, Queen of Noble Arms. She's just good with boars, basically, and you can just equip her to your noble knights from your hand or graveyard for basically free. And then if it's equipped to a light monster, the equipped monster can sort of avoid 1 destruction by card effect, which isn't that great, but it's okay. But if it's dark, at the during the damage step, or at the start of it, when you attack with your dark noble knights, so that would be boars or Medrau, because they would be the ones that become dark when they're equipped. You can just you can destroy the opponent's monster and then destroy it itself. Sadly, it doesn't then re-equip itself, but then you can re-equip itself in your main phase too, if you haven't used its sort of first effect. If you haven't equipped itself to that monster already that turn. So I think it's useful. Because it doesn't target the opponent's monster. It's like if your opponent has like a really problematic monster, you can Guinevere into like boars, attack, and then pop Guinevere, and then pop the opponent's really troublesome monster, which is really good. Then for the spells, we have 3 Glory of the Noble Knight. Just an insane card, really. Like the thing is that the Noble Arms equipped spells in themselves aren't great. There are none of them that are particularly amazing. I'm hoping we get in maybe the next set or the set after like a really staple Noble Arms card that you'd actually want to run at 3. But in the meantime, Glory of the Noble Knights is just a quick way to kind of cheat them out of your deck, and essentially allows you to run sort of 3 extra copies of the Noble Arms cards, but without the restrictions and drawbacks of some of those cards, because it allows you to accelerate your deck, thins it, and you can pick what you want for that situation. Really good card. Then in my view, the best archetype support ever. 3 Heritage of the Chalice. Now this is just like what every archetype dreams of having. Add 1 Noble Knight monster or 1 Noble Arms card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. I mean, that's enough, literally. I mean, well, with the Harbots per turn as well. It could just have that, and you just also run it at 3. It's a searcher, a recycler of basically every card in the deck, which is... You can do so much with this card. Like, it can help you out of any situation. It can enable plays by getting that Noble Knight Brothers that you need. It can give you that Noble Arms card that you need. It's just, like, I can't really state how useful it is enough until you've sort of played the deck without it and then played it with it. The deck becomes so much better with it. And admittedly, you don't have to run 3, because it does have a really nice sort of recycling effect of itself when one of your Noble Knight monsters is destroyed by battle when it's equipped with the Noble Arms, and while it's in the grave, you can sort of bring back the Heritage to your hand. However, like, whilst this is good in certain scenarios and you'll be able to kind of make use of it, some people I think have cited maybe playing only 2, but I think I'd rather just have it in my opening hand. Admittedly, like, drawing 2 can be a bit of a problem, given how the second one is just kind of useless in the hand, and you can't really do much with it because it's not a Noble Arms or a Noble Knight card. But I think you have to have 3 because it's so important to the deck, and if you don't draw into it early on, like, the deck is a lot worse for it. So I run 3, and I would definitely advise you to run 3 if you're trying to build your own Noble Knight deck. 1 Monster Reborn, it's Monster Reborn. It's just amazing for basically every scenario. Helps with the extending links and what have you. Then we're going to move on to the Noble Arms cards. So we run. Sorry, let me just. This is kind of going all over the place, but we run 1 Affat-Dutier. That basically allows you to pop set cards. It's not the greatest. It's like, it can be useful if your opponent is particularly playing a trap heavy deck, but it's just like another named one, and it's like, it has its uses. It's not the greatest. And I should say, all these Noble Arms cards, if they're destroyed and sent to the graveyard while on the field, you can target a Noble Knight that you control, and then it equips from the graveyard to it. The only one that doesn't work for it is Excalibur, and that's why we run 1, but Excalibur does have another use, which we'll get to in a minute. So Affat-Dutier just pops set cards. Caliburn, I think Caliburn is probably the worst Noble Arms card, and I just run it as an extra name. Basically, the equipment once gains 500 attack, which is okay, and then once per turn you can gain 500 LP life points, which is like is fine, really. It's nothing great. I won 1 Clouant. I know some people don't want any. I think the ability to just pay 500 life points and then allow the equipped monster to attack directly on a turn is really quite useful, and it can allow you to close out some games if your opponent's got a particularly kind of stally board and you're just like, well, they've only got 1800 life points left, I'm just going to use this on my Pelin or what have you, and then win through that. So it's sort of like, in my view, I see it as kind of a cowboy for game in a way. Like, spoiler alert, I don't have space for cowboy in this extra deck. But like it's just a sort of when you just need to close the draw out, I find it quite useful. Double Destiny. Destiny is once per turn, the equipped monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. It's pretty self-explanatory, so it gives your monster a nice bit of protection, and obviously kind of re-equip itself when it's sent to the graveyard, or when destroyed and sent to the graveyard. Really good, and definitely one of the ones that you'd want more than one. Then Excalibur is kind of the best in regards to what it does, because it prevents the Noble Knight monsters being targeted by your opponent's card effects, which is so good. And the problem with it is that it doesn't re-equip from the grave, but it does have a really cool effect when, during your turn, except when it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish it, then target a Noble Knight monster, Xyz monster you control, and then special summon another Noble Knight Xyz with a different name by using that Xyz material as its sort of required material. So it's really useful. So you basically go, so say you have a Custodian on the field, or the rank 4 Artorigus, then you can just banish this and go up to the rank 5, or go up to the rank 5 with both, or swap them around. It's really useful. You only really want one, because then once it's in the graveyard, you only really want one because you kind of want to be equipping it onto your monster, onto your big boss monster. And then there was a kind of issue when you banish it that you can't then really recover it back for your, sort of, say you're going from the rank 4 to the rank 5, you can't really recover it back. But generally, you'll put this on your rank 4 and it will only really get into the graveyard in a kind of dire situation, and then you can recover a bit with it. Like, it would be, I think, a little bit too overpowered if you could basically just, if it didn't have to banish itself for that cost. But it's still really worthwhile to have it one. You could run two. I think one is fine though. 2 Gallatin. This is basically Acts of Despair mixed with sort of Recurl. It's like, immediately the monster loses 200 attack and attack every each time it draws damage phase. But essentially, you run this so you can your little monsters can run over medium-sized monsters, or that your big monsters can run over basically everything. It's not the greatest. It doesn't really do much other than attack gain, and obviously I would never consider running Acts of Despair in the current meta game, but it's like, it is nice to have. And the reason I want to is because it's kind like, being able to just run over something on battle is kind of important for the deck, because they don't have that many removal options outside of a couple of their Xyz, and as I've said, Pelin or the I1. So I think being able to run over cards is really important for the deck, and I think 2 is a good number to run. Then we have 1 Rota, super useful, just searches one of your Noble Knights basically. It's like another Chalice, so not quite as good as Chalice. And then for the traps, I have 2 until Noble Arms are needed once again. I've kind of explained that you can banish it from the grave to special summon a Noble Knight from the deck that isn't one that you have in the grave or field, which is insanely useful. But also when you activate it, when it's set, it's basically a pot of duality based on the number of Noble Arms equipped spells you have in the field. So you can basically reveal up to 4 cards from your top of your deck and then add one to your hand. And that is just really useful. It allows you to sort of, if you need that monster reborn, it allows you to get it a little quicker, and allows you to then probably draw next turn. It allows you to kind of stack your deck, which is useful. I mean, I could even see, I can imagine a Noble Knight Sylvan crossover, but no, that would be awful. But it's mainly used for that second effect, to be honest, that you can get it to the graveyard with balls easily and banish it. But like, its on-field effect is pretty damn good, given that it's not limited to adding a Noble card from your deck to your hand. So that's the 40-card deck. It's alright. I think it's pretty damn fun to play, and it's quite useful. Then in the extra deck we have 1 Exciting Knight, because it blows up the board. It's really useful. 1 Baguska, the Terribly Tired Tapir. If you need to slow down the opponent, and your hand's kind of ground to a halt, can be useful to go into. It's not the greatest, but whatever. Double Artorgus. He, on summon, basically fetches 3 Noble Arms equipped spells with different names from your graveyard and equips them to himself. So you ideally want to equip Excaliburn to give him targeting immunity, Destiny to give him battle and card effect protection, and probably Gallatin for the attack gain. So then you have a 3,000 guy that can't be targeted, that can avoid battle or card effect destruction once per turn, which is really useful. And then it can basically detach material to destroy your opponent's spell and traps. So really good card. I mean, if necessary, you could run 3, but I have quite a few links that in this deck, so I think 2 is serviceable. 2 Custonin. Custonin is really interesting because he can basically he returns cards from on the field to the hand, or return card that your opponent controls to the hand by detaching any number of materials, and because it's 2+ level 4 Noble Knight monsters, depending on the situation, given how quickly Noble Knights are able to kind of flood the field, you could basically, I mean, I'm not advocating you use 5 Noble Knights to go into this guy, but you could use 3 if your opponent's got 3 automatic cards, or 2 or 2 as the standard. I tend to only go use 2 for him. So I'm like, on occasion, I will sacrifice 3 for him just because if there's 3 really problematic cards, that this guy can kind of deal with them quite quickly. And then if he's destroyed by battle or card effect, you get special summon a Noble Knight Xyz from your extra deck, accepts itself, and then attaches him to it. And this is great because once Custonin basically hits the grave after being destroyed, I mean, admittedly, your opponent can get around it by just sending him and not destroying. You're just able to get into your rank 5 or your Artorgus, bring back your Noble Arms equipped spells, and then you have another solid body. It's a good floating effect and really useful to have. Then I have 2 Sacred Noble Knight of King Artorgus, similar to the rank 4. I mean, it's kind of worse in a way in that you have to when you detach material, he only targets other monsters and then destroys them. But then also, if he's sent from the field to the graveyard, you can basically special summon a level 4 Noble Knight from your graveyard, which is really useful. I just say level 4 or higher, but you don't play the level 5s because they're kind of bad. And then the links, we have 2 Assault. Admittedly, I only have 1 at the moment. The second one I'll be getting once the price dips and when it gets reprinted in December. This is just your main enabler of the deck. You can easily bring it out because all your cards in Warrior. Ivan, as I said, is a 1 card. There are many cards that are basically effective 1 cards because of how quickly Noble Knights can flood the board. Then on summon, it searches another Warrior, which is amazing. And then you can basically send 4 of your equipped spells from your deck to the graveyard, and then special summon a Warrior monster from your deck, which is just insane. You can just do so much with this old. I mean, you could run 3. I think that by the time you've used its effect once, maybe even twice, you're kind of out of equipped spells in the deck, so I don't think you necessarily need it at 3. And because it's the sort of enabler, like it's what you go into first, you're not going to kind of keep it on board for that long. So I think 2 is fine. The search effect is always nice, but generally speaking, once you have 1 out or you've used it once, you kind of want to be going into the Xyz because they have more disruption and it's kind of better in regards to keeping a good board presence rather than these guys, which are mainly used for establishing board presence and kind of helping you out your hand. We have, for the big boys, we have 1 Borreload and 1 Soyuya. I want Ball Sword, but it's quite expensive at the moment, and that would probably replace Soyuya. But I still think Soyuya is pretty good because you can get quite a lot of different name monsters on the field. So Soyuya comes along. It's a kind of not a waste because you're using a lot of materials onto it, and you kind of can restart your hand. And it's got some other good little effects, like when you can special summon a monster from your hand, which can be helpful. It's useful, but not the greatest. It would probably be the card I would cut most from this deck. Then Borreload is just really useful. It's a good game closer. Hard to get around for certain decks. So you always want to Borreload basically. And then I have the mini Nightmare or the Nightmare Engine. I should probably put these this way so their arrows are slightly better lined up. Phoenix for popping back row, Unicorn for spinning or for bouncing cards. And Cerberus for getting rid of main deck monsters. And that's the deck, really. I mean, the main thing it does, the thing it does well is spam the board with Warriors, gets into its sold, and then gets into your Noble Knight rank 4s and rank 5s if necessary. It's a really fun deck to use. It's got a lot of kind of nice utility with Morgan and some of the searching and stuff like that, and can do some pretty fun, crazy stuff. But I think most importantly, it's got really stunning artwork. Like, I mean, have you seen? Look at this. Until No One's Needed Again. Look how great that artwork is. I mean, it's coming out. Okay, there we go. It's amazing artwork. Really great theme of the deck, because I'm into my Arthurian legends, and it's just a fun deck to play that I hope gets better and better with the next couple of sets. So if you enjoyed the video, please give a like and maybe consider subscribing. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.